Okay, so my name is Mari. I am the Kitchen Wizard. I am an international best-selling cookbook author of Kitchen Wizard Flexibes. I am a creator of the Kitchen Wizard Flexibe method, a simple three-step cooking process that saves you 30 minutes a day, week after week. And I have been teaching this method since 2009, and I also worked with American Heart Association's 2020 initiative. I was born and raised in Tokyo, Japan, and educated and worked both in the US and Japan first and then the US. I love to travel and cook and eat from around the world. I've been to Sweden, sorry. I've been to UK and I've been to almost all the continents, I think, by now. Yes, I have, except for Antarctica, but not too many people go to Antarctica, and then there's not much interesting food to eat, so I'm okay with that. And I love to, after my travel, I like to cook and eat from these countries, like recreate at home. That's my hobby. I love to get creative and then figure out the ways to save time and effort. My mother called it laziness. I call it creativity or resourcefulness. And you tell me which one it is. And my background is actually not in restaurant business or culinary training or anything. I'm a self-taught cook, and I used to be a systems engineer, logistic consultant, life coach, and also an artist. So I have very eclectic background. So let me ask you about your dinner time. How does it look like? Does this sound like you? You come home, number one, you come home tired from a long day at work, or maybe now you are home all day, but still after work, you're so exhausted, no energy to decide what's for dinner, let alone cooking, grabbing whatever the closest thing to you, or calling for the takeout once again, and then regret. And if that applies to you, put one in the chat box. Number two, you make an elaborate meal plan only to realize you don't have enough time or ingredients to make that meal. And then same as number one, you grab whatever the closest. Or worse yet, you will start your quest to the perfect recipe from the beginning, and then you end up eating really late at night. And number three, you're much more organized. You actually spend time cooking, but it takes so freaking long. You're exhausted. You can't even enjoy the meal, let alone your time with your family. That's not very good either. Or if none of the three, let me know in the chat box what your dinner time looks like. Well, whatever the case, if that sounds familiar to you, you are in the right place. First dive in, I have an important question for you that I really want you to think about. How much is you and your family's health really worth to you? Believe me, I've been there too. I moved to the US in 1988, and I quickly adopted American lifestyle. Less walking, driving everywhere. The portion of the food got a lot larger, and the food is a lot richer than what I used to back in Japan. And that caused me to start gaining weight. And once I got married, the situation got worse because I wanted to impress my newly married husband. And then I wanted to make the meal I used to eat back in Japan, but I couldn't pull it off. So I relied a lot on pre-made food and then restaurant. And then we have a lot of great restaurants in San Francisco, but that came with the huge consequences. The health consequences, not only the weight gain, but then I started to feeling tired all the time. I was stressed out all the time. I wasn't able to fall asleep anymore. IBS, acid reflexes. I used to take lots of Alka-Seltzer after many, many meals of overeating. And I could not even go anywhere with Imodium because I had this bout of, I don't know, I'm not going to say too much detail, but let's say I had to take Imodium weekly, and then I couldn't go anywhere without it because it was that bad. And my cholesterol and then triglyceride was going higher and higher every single year. And then one year, my doctor told me, Mari, I have to put you on medication because you're pre-diabetic and because of your family history. That was a big wake-up call because my dad died of complication from diabetes at the height of his career as a doctor. And I didn't want to die young like him. And then he took like all sorts of drugs, and then he even had to do some diets, but he still had to die. And then I hate drugs, so I was determined to overcome this without drug or diet. Now, of course, as you can see, eating out habit is very, very expensive to keep up. And here in the US, the healthcare cost is very high. And, of course, depending on the insurance you have, but then if I had to go on medication for the rest of my life, like my dad, and then insulin and then all that, that was not an option for me. So I tried everything. 30 minutes meals, that was very popular at that time with Rachel Ray. New kitchen gadgets, kitchen tools. I even went through 12 weeks home chef cooking foundation class. But the situation actually got a lot worse. My number was getting worse and worse. Now I learned to follow the recipe exactly. My stress got even worse. And then my money has decreasing even more. I found myself in a vicious cycle. And it was really, really it wasn't very pretty. One of the worst time in my life when it comes to the dinner preparation time. And then one year, I visited my aunt back in Tokyo. So this is a picture of the meal she made on that day. And then she was whipping up all these like amazing healthy meals from her Samside kitchen. And then I started to talk with her how she does these things, and then started to talk about how she prepares everyday meals, and then breakfast and lunch, and then all that kind of things. And then my light bulb went off, and then thought, if I can replicate this method, my situation would change. So I went back to San Francisco and I started to experiment, and the result was phenomenal. So all the weight I gained since I came back to the US was all gone. And then my weight was back before I came to the US, which was, I was skinny little girl from Japan. And I was feeling like 25-year-old again, even though I was in almost mid 40s. And then my stress was all gone. And I was able to say goodbye to lack of sleep. I was sleeping like a baby again. No more Imodium, no more nightly Alka-Seltzer nightcap. And my cholesterol and then triglyceride went back to normal. And my doctor told me that you're no longer pre-diabetic. Yes, I overcame my pre-diabetes without drugs or dieting. And then One surprising thing is at the end of that year, I was doing my tax, and then I happened to see the credit card bill, and then, oh my God, the restaurant expenses went down by $9,000. We saved $9,000. And then I thought, like, well, yeah, I mean, of course, we're not eating out as much, but I thought my grocery expense should have gone down significantly. So I added everything up, and then to my big surprise, our grocery bill stayed about $3,000 for both years, just because I was not buying the pre-made food, and then also I was using all the food I bought, and I was eating more delicious food than ever. And then, as you might be wondering, like, so how, that's the first year. How has it been since? Well, it's been about 15 years, and then things has up. My health stayed the same, weight, numbers, pretty much the same. And the money, had I not learned how to spend that $9,000, in 15 years, that adds up to $135,000. And then I calculated that I save about 100 plus hours a year. And then in 15 years, that's 1,500 hours. And then if you divide by, 8-hour workday, that's like 187 days. It's like more than 6 months. And then even if you divide by 12 hours, that's 125 days. It's like you gained 4 weeks back in 15 years. And then the biggest benefit is we haven't had to do any takeout or pre-made food needed since the lockdown, except for Costco rotisserie chicken here and there. And then we enjoy the different food every day. And as I hear about people who's going through the cooking fatigue and everything, I really feel like this method needs to go out there, because this method is very well known in Japan, but not outside of Japan, because everything is written in Japanese and not too many people are able to read Japanese. So now the story is not really about me. Although your story looked a little bit different from mine, the benefit of finally being able to establish healthy cooking habits are exactly what I want for you too. And that's exactly what this training is all about. So let's review some of the stuff we talked about, and then why the conventional method does not work. It is because too much focus is on recipes that are written for the masses, which means the assumptions are everyone has same ingredients, same taste, have same kitchen setup, and cook the same way. The reality, as you know, everyone has different ingredients, different tastes, has different kitchen setup, and then cook different way. So that's the reason why we need to focus on priorities, preferences, ingredients, and then pre-existing skills as our basis. So here's another missing piece of the puzzle of why conventional method doesn't work. People think that you make a recipe, one, and then complete the step, and then that's the end of the dish. You eat it, and then the next day, next day, as if nothing is related with each other. On the right-hand side, this is the reality. You go grocery shopping, and then you do keep up your fridge and pantry, and then you decide what to cook, prep, cook, eat, clean, and then you put the food leftover or the food you didn't use back into the fridge or freezer, pantry, whatever, and then the cycle goes on. So that means what you do today affects what you do tomorrow. So if that's the case, the $1 million question is, What can I do now so that I can save time and effort later? What I found out is plan the prep instead of meals. So here are 9 reasons to plan the prep instead of meals. Number 1, it cuts out several steps by having everything in bulk when you have time. When it's time to cook later in the week, you don't have to do that part. It's a huge time saving, and then that means more time for you. And number 2, by doing the batch, plan the prep and then doing in a batch, you can get 80% of the work done. So when it's ready, time for you to cook for the meal for the week, there's a lot less stress. You have like complete peace of mind. Number 3, flexibility. Even if something happens, you have everything ready to go waiting for you, so you can just mix and match, and then easy to tweak the menu based on the time available and then what you're in the mood for. And number 4, when you have these things chopped up or sauteed or steamed, whatever, cooked minimally, and then waiting for you, your imagination and creativity kicks in. As you can see in the menu, in the picture, you see these chopped up peppers, and then you realize like, oh, I can saute them together with that asparagus and then tomato and then make a dish, or combine this chickpeas and then tomato mixture and then something else. And it's so much easier to decide what's for dinner, and it reduces overwhelm because it also because it's no longer whole form. Like if you have like a head of cabbage, all you see is like, oh my god, all you think is like, oh my god, I don't know what to do with this head of cabbage. But then when it's chopped up and then ready to go, you will think like, oh, I could make coleslaw or okonomiyaki, or put it in the saute it and then put it on the um, egg rolls in a bowl, whatever. Number 5, it keeps you organized. That means less time finding, cooking, and cleaning. And that is huge because if you have to spend a lot of time finding things, you will be wasting a lot of time. Number 6, focus on simpler tasks each time. So rather than completing the whole step, you are basically doing some of the step in batches. So when you're chopping, it's very pleasant. Chopping and then cooking minimally, it's a very pleasant and then simple task to do. And then when you're actually cooking, it's now a playtime, and then it's more like watching one of these like tasty video on Facebook and stuff. You're dump, heat it up, stir it, and then voila, the dinner is ready. It really feels like that. And number 7, these are ready to be eaten after the prep stage. Like, even these peppers, asparagus, you can eat it as it is as a snack, or chop them up and then add to salad or stir fry or whatever. So actually food tastes better that way, and then you don't need to worry about screwing up the seasoning as much. And then because they're not cooked all the way till the end, it's much easier to layer flavors on top and then create different varieties. And number 8, you feel better. Not just your energy goes up and then you feel lighter and everything, but also the knowledge of you and then your family is eating better. That is priceless. And number 9, if you have a family, they might start cooking for you. That means even more time for you. And then, especially during the lockdown and everything, you might want to involve them to do the meal prepping or cooking together. And then your family will gaining important life skills, which many of us found very, very critical during this um, lockdown and then all that. So you might be asking, how do I do it? Well, we'll go more detailed in my course, but here's some high level stuff you can use right away. Number one, plan. Go shopping and then replenish what's used up. Decide which go-to ingredients to prep for the week to base this week's meals on. And then make sure to always have your go-to ingredients on hand, because most of the people eat and use the same thing over and over. And when you have most of your go-to ingredients, you can make 80% of the dishes just by mixing and matching and then tweaking, and without going last minute shopping or last minute recipe change. So once you learn how to do that, it's so much easier. And then you will save a lot of money, because you won't go, you think that, oh my god, I don't have this ingredients, and then buy it and then you use it only once. I mean, I hear that a lot from people who follow like other meal planning subscriptions. Number two, prep. Do the actual prep. This is the glue that holds everything together. Even to this day, 15 years, if I don't do this step, I struggle. And many of my students say it's the same thing. So the main reason why you want to do this is you will be able to get 80% of the work done, and you will now have a loose idea of what you can make by mix and matching. So I would highly recommend that you make a commitment to spend 1 to 2 hours every week, just once a week, and then do some prep. And you can start small and then build up. And the more you can do, the easier it gets. And step number three is play. Once these things out of the way, because 80% of the work is done, you can just mix and match and transform some of the leftovers, change up flavors, and then voila, dinner is ready in no time. Seriously, if you do the prep stage, you would have so much less stress. Yeah, no, like a lot less stress, and you have options of different dishes. Depending on your time available and then what you're in the mood for, you can make anything you want, and then you can eat healthy. And when we don't, have all these vegetables chopped up and then all that, you know what happens. These are the last one to be eaten and then get rotten, and then we feel like we didn't eat healthy. So yeah, this seriously, if you do the batch prepping first, it really, everyday meal preparation will become a play, and you will be cooking like on these tasty videos. And I really want you to experience how it feels. It's really great. So here are some of the batch prepping examples. This is probably the most basic one on the left hand side, just chopped up. You can eat them as a snack. This is more of my summer type of prepping, but you can just eat them as a snack or chop them up, put it in a salad, or you can also make stir fry or more complicated dishes as well. The one in the middle is a little more cooked, but again, it's one step further. So you will be spending slightly more time in the front end, but then you will be saving a lot more time later in the week. And then the one on the right-hand side is more of my winter type of batch prepping, but it's more of a combination of, like, for example, like the greens with some onions and then garlic, the potatoes with the sauteed with the onions, and then the one on the left top is sauteed onion, celery, and then carrots, which improve the flavor of everything. And then once you make them, you can literally make anything in 15 minutes or less, depending on how long you want to cook it. So yeah, and then if you have like instant pot or something, you can just dump everything in and then just you leave and then push some buttons and they will just let you know when it's done. It's really, really easy. So here are some of mix and matching examples. For example, let's say, well, actually not let's say, I had cooked quinoa, pan-fried salmon, brown Swiss chard, and then sauteed mushrooms made. And then these are 4 different things I made in a week. And salad to like, salmon and then the potato and then chard thing on the bottom. And this was I think it was something I made for like wedding anniversary or something. So that's the reason why it looks very fancy. But basically, I stuffed some of the leftover quinoa pilaf into this zucchini flowers, and then I wrapped the already made pan fried salmon with the charred leaf. And the right hand side, it says char wrapped salmon. It is not a char wrapped salmon. It is pan fried salmon with the creamy mushroom sauce with the on the bed of quinoa. I think that was the first thing I made. Anyway, and then sauteed tomato onion is actually one of the base for my cookbook. My cookbook is basically like organized with one base. I call it a flexi base, and then some of the dishes you can make using that. So basically you can save a lot more time. But anyway, once you make this sauteed tomato and onion base, you can use it for so many things. Like you can make curry or shrimp with chili sauce, or like you can go fancy and then things like rolled up chicken with tomato wine sauce or something. Or you can make ratatouille or whatever. So yeah, you can go like Italian, obvious Italian route, or Indian, or Chinese, or Turkish, or whatever you feel like. And it will save so much time by having these things ready to go. Okay, so just a little wrap up. Kitchen was a fixed fee method. Basically, it's very simple 3-step cooking process, and then it saves you 30 minutes a day, week after week. Step number 1, plan. Step 2, number 2, prep. And then step number 3, play. And when you do the plan and prep, you get to play. And that's the best part. And then you eat really well. So here is a case study of one of the students who followed my method. So before, she considered herself not a good cook, and she felt like, home cooking is just too much work for a single woman. As a New Year's resolution, she decided to cook more to be healthy, and she decided to try Kitchen Wizard Flexi method, my method, because of its uniqueness. So she had the initial success with one recipe base. I think this meal poisson. And she found it as a handy magic ingredient that made everything delicious really quickly. And because of that success, she decided to make more dishes. And then quickly, her perspective about home cooking changed from hard and time consuming to easy, fast, and fun. And soon after, she realized that she's actually a good cook, and then no recipe was intimidating any longer for her. And then she started to not only cooking healthy, but then she started to, her whole life has become a lot more healthier, and they started to work out, and then she naturally lost the weight. She felt more energetic, and then she saved money because she would bring the leftover to work, and then she was eating the leftover or like some prepped vegetables as a snack. And she said that she felt like she got a new life all in 3 months just by having fun and then eating well. So just like her, who felt that her life has been changed and then she's really excited with her new life, I want you to be able to have the same experience. So you might be asking, how do I implement this in my own life? Now, the option one, keep doing what you have been doing. Well, you might get there someday, like I did. I was lucky, but it's going to be painful. And then remember that about 5 years of agony I had to go through. Option number two, follow the process we talked about today. Now, I'm sure you can probably guess which way I will recommend you to. In just 1 year, I made all these changes, but it could be more, it could be less, but something similar could happen to you if you actually take action today and then do some work. But basically, you're already eating, you're already cooking, so it's pretty much a no-brainer to me. And then these things adds up. In my case, in 15 years, these were all the savings, $135,000 worth of money, and then about 1,500 hours, which is about regained 6 months in 15 years. That's huge. And I want you to be able to get that. And then most of all, shorten that learning curve. And then I don't want you to, struggle anymore. So 5 things to remember. Number one, with everyday cooking, what you and then your family enjoy is all that matters. So don't worry about like, oh, I'm not supposed to put this with this, or oh, this is not authentic. You're not opening a restaurant, at least not yet. So, let your inner perfectionist go. And number two, a lot of times people say like, oh, I don't know what and what goes together, but you eat 1,000 times a year. So trust your taste buds and then intuition. And number three, memorize several core recipes and then tweak what you like and what you have. And number four, figure out a way to use components from your favorite recipes and leftovers to make different dishes, not just reheat and eat. And number five, involve your family if you have one, and then have fun.